time catching me live, I'm Cyber Frida. I'm an award-winning Forbes 30 under 30 internet safety expert. But before all of like the cybersecurity background and all of that, I was a child online, a teenager online in particular. I started my online journey, I call it like a journey, when I was 13 years old. And I had a grand old time online, but there were a lot of experiences that I had as like a woman that was gaming, that was online, that was talking to strangers, that I was in chat rooms. And it gave me a perspective that I don't think a lot of people will have unless you've been through what I've been through. Not to say that, oh my God, I've been through a lot, but that perspective that I have based off of being a teen online, a child online, talking to strangers, talking to other teens, going through what I went through, and then also ending up going to work in cybersecurity and threat intelligence and doing trainings and talking to students and kids and families. I gain a perspective on parental controls that are a little bit different than other people. And so I'm going to explain the 2 reasons why parental controls are not always the answer. Before I say that, a little disclaimer, I'm not against parental controls. I believe parental controls can be a very valuable tool for you and your kids. It's just not the immediate and the only and the foundational answer for protecting your kids online. There are 2 reasons for that. There's a cybersecurity reason for it, and I can talk about that later in the video. I did a full YouTube video around the parental controls you should not download for you and your kids, because those parental controls don't have safety, they don't have security, and they don't have privacy. And anytime you're using an app, whether it's an app, a website, you have an account, and you're signing up to something, anything can be hacked, right? And if a parental control app is hacked, I know I said I was going to talk about this in the end. I'll go deeper in the end, but I'll just talk about it really quickly in the beginning, and then we'll circle back to it at the end. Anytime you're signing up for a service, you're downloading an app, anything can be hacked. And most parents, most people, most families don't know that parental control apps can be hacked, which is why I typically only recommend like the 4 big ones. So Google Family, Microsoft Family Safety, Apple Family Sharing, and then the Norton Family Suite. Those are the typical ones, or the parental controls available in the apps that your kids use. And so other than that, there's very few that I'll ever recommend. There's one that I sometimes recommend, but I'm very careful about what I recommend because of that fact. There have been parental control apps that had vulnerabilities, so basically like bugs that allowed hackers and predators to find out where kids live, to download pictures and videos and information that kids were sending to their friends or family members. And so it's so important to have something that has safety and that has security in mind. So my cybersecurity and threat intelligence background is what allows me to have that opinion. It's a very strong one. I did a lot of research on in terms of what apps were hacked, how are they hacked, did they rectify the situation. Another point before I get into the second reason why parental controls are not the answer, another point is that, to be honest, anything can be hacked. This is not like, oh, you shouldn't use something because it can be hacked. Anything can be hacked. Everything can be hacked, right? The point of this is that you want to go with a company that has a security team, that has a privacy team, that can make sure that if anything were to happen, if a predator were to get into your online account and they're able to download your child's location or download the pictures your child sent to their friend, that they have a solution, they can rectify it. They have a security team, they have an IT team that can help you out. And if they don't have that, then it's not great, right? That's not good. So that's why parental controls are not just the answer. But now let's get into the personal aspect of me being a gamer online, being 13 years old, being a sneaky teen online. And honestly, like my parents set me down when they first got me a phone. And they're like, hey, don't talk to strangers. I did not follow that because I was like, what the hell do you mean? Especially as a gamer, you may have went through this with your gamer child where you told them like, hey, you can have the game, but don't talk to strangers online. Don't tell them any personal information. And you're like, okay, great. What happens with a lot of kids, especially when they're gamers, I'm not talking about kids who are on social media and they're following their favorite influencer, or they're on YouTube and they're just watching videos. When it comes to gamers, one of the but the most popular responses you'll get from gamers is, how am I going to communicate with my friends in the online game? Like, how am I going to have that moment of like, oh, do this or do that, or what is the game plan or whatever it is? You can't have that moment unless you're speaking to a stranger. So immediately your child's thought process goes, my parent knows nothing about the online world, knows nothing about video gaming, knows nothing about online gaming, and so I'm not going to listen to them because they have no idea what they're talking about, and they're going to go behind your back and end up talking to people, right? And that's exactly what I did. I didn't have any parental controls. I didn't have any parental monitoring. To be honest, I was one of those kids that if you put that on me, I would have went around your back. And that is another reason why parental controls and parental monitoring is not the foundation. It is not the answer. It can help you. It can be a tool if you're worried about who they're talking to and what they're talking about. You're worried about their safety, the crowd that they're in. You want to understand more of what's going on in terms of their activities online. It can provide a really great tool. But when you use it as the answer, you miss some of the deeper solutions that you can have to your kids' online safety. And so kids will go around it. I've had parents that were like, oh yeah, so I installed parental controls, and then I realized like it wasn't picking up what I wanted, or they figure out a way. They use a VPN, they reset their phone, they were only on the app for 1 minute, they deleted the app and then they re-downloaded the app and they found a way around it. And so if you're not using parental controls in a way that is healthy and in a way that's holistic, and you have a plan for parental controls and you're only using them as the tool, the cherry on top, and not the foundation of protecting your kids online, it can work super well. It can work super well, especially if you're able to have that relationship with your child first, and you're able to talk to them and you're able to get them to understand why it's there. Even if they don't fully understand why you are adding parental controls, the fact that you've talked to them, you gave them the why, you gave them the reasonings behind everything, and then you gave them a cutoff point. So you say, hey, right now, I just gave you a phone, you're like 12 years old, or you're 13 years old. The parental controls and parental monitoring will stop when you're about to go to college, or when you get your first job and you start making your own money and you pay for your own phone bill. Then it's no longer like it's now your phone because you're taking care of it, even though you're using my internet, but whatever. Like if you get to that point, then you're no longer going to have parental controls. You're more mature, you're more responsible, you're about to go off to college, you have to understand how to manage yourself online. If you have like an end date, then it makes it easier for your child to understand what is going on and understand where you're coming from, especially when you have a conversation explaining it, but also getting their point of view. Like, how do you feel? Do you feel certain type of way? Is there any confusion that you have with it? You can explain to them why you're adding it. One great analogy is that I would never allow you to go to the park by yourself, even though you have a lot of fun at the park and you like to meet your friends or whatever it is. I would never allow you to go to the park by yourself. Either I'm going with you, or someone that I know is going with you, or I'm able to contact you at any moment. If no one's going with you, then that means I'm able to contact you in any moment. That means that I'm going to be there because you're my responsibility, and if anything were to happen to you, it is on me, and I never want anything to happen to you. And so explaining that and saying on the internet, it's just like going on a playground, but I'm not there in the playground. No one I know is there in the playground. I cannot watch you all the time. And so this is basically me coming with you on the internet. I'm not going to be able to see everything that you do, but it will alert me to anything that is necessary. So anything that goes wrong, I get to understand, I get to know it, and we can talk about it. And I promise you that no matter what I see, whether it's bad, good, ugly, beautiful, I am not going to overreact. And that's really important, like not overreacting, remaining cool, remaining calm, remaining collected, no matter what they say, no matter what you see. That's very difficult. Like that's crazy difficult. However, it is so necessary, and it helps so much when you're able to be cool, calm, and collected no matter what. The reason being is the reason why a lot of kids are not talking to their parents, and especially as someone who's grown up online, I know this from my personal story. The reason why I did not talk to my mother, the reason why I did not talk to my father, was because I felt like if I were to tell them my thoughts, my feelings, something that happened in the game, something stupid that somebody said, or something that I came across online, or something that I was doing online, they would overreact. they would get really annoying. They would become helicopter parents. They're going to ask me a lot of questions. They're going to want to see who I'm talking to. They're going to want to talk to the person or block the person. They're going to get all up in my business. They're going to create more drama than it needs to be. Then they're going to make me feel like I'm the bad person, or even maybe even if I did something wrong, I feel like I am being judged. They're not going to listen to me. They're going to raise their voices. They're going to take away my device. And I was like an only child, and I loved communicating with other people and seeing how other people live their life. Like very much like I want to know how this culture does things. I want to listen to this culture's music. I want to know like how do they eat, that type of stuff. I was very interested in people. I still am till today. And so for me, that was like my outlet and my moment to like after school to just be online and to communicate with people. That was my outlet. And I felt like if they were to know the things that I was thinking or doing or feeling or seeing or experiencing, then they would take away my device. And if they took away my device, that means that the one thing that gave me a lot of enjoyment and a lot of fun outside of my friends and outside of the 1-2 subjects in school that I actually liked, I didn't like most of them, but whatever, like that would be gone. Like I wouldn't be able to have that anymore. And because of that, I was like, yeah, I would never be talking to my parents. Never. Even if they said like, hey, like I love you, no matter what you do, I'm here for you, I'm there for you. I didn't feel safe to do that because I felt like the one thing that I wanted would be taken away, and any conversation they have with me will be filled with, you shouldn't do this, you should do this, and not really a lot of listening. And this is just my thought process. I didn't know what would happen. Eventually, there are different situations that happened that led me to talk to my parents, and it actually worked out really well. And it really solidified my relationship with them. And we can talk about that in a couple of minutes. But in the beginning, I did it because I felt like they would overreact. And I was like the golden child, the perfect child. Everything had to go perfect. And then my family, we had like very like strong values. And so for me, I was like, if I mess up or I do anything, they're not going to understand. They're not going to give me grace. There's not going to be a safe space for kindness and love and whatever. Not to say that there wasn't there in the household. They had never before yelled at me. They've never screamed. They've never slammed doors. Like I didn't feel unsafe with them in any way whatsoever. But in my head as a kid, you're catastrophizing. I think that's what it's called. Like you're catastrophizing everything. And you don't know how your parent is going to react. So the moment you talk to your parent about something, now it becomes bigger than it needs to be. So that's why I didn't talk to my parents. And I know, and probably watching this, you went through a similar thing with your parents where you're just like, I don't want to tell them that, right? It's a very normal human experience, but especially as a child, when your parent is the only your world that you live in outside of school and friends and other family. Like if you have your parents in the household, whether you have one parent or both parents in the household, they're basically your world, essentially. And so if your world is upset with you, you feel like everything is crumbling. And so I didn't feel safe to talk to my parent. And I did not feel like if I told them anything that they would take it seriously. And seriously in terms of remaining cool, calm, and collected. And so that's why I never talked to them. And that's why when they gave me some internet rules, I was like, okay, I'm not going to follow them. But I didn't tell them I wasn't going to follow them because I had been begging to have a phone. And this was the first time I was able to have one. It was like the little Nokia phone that everyone jokes it never breaks. Little like the green light up buttons, and you can play Snake on it. Like I was so excited. Like I'm like, yeah, absolutely. And then the iPod was out, like the first touchscreen one, and then you can start playing mobile games. So that's how I started to get into more mobile games and talking to people. And the reason why I bring this up is because I've had so many experiences as a teen and as a kid that made me completely relate to the kids these days when they're on TikTok or Instagram or gaming online, because I went through some very similar things. And the reason why your child may not be talking to you is because they don't feel safe enough to. And the more opportunities you give them to talk to you, and the more opportunities you're able to connect with them, the better it is in terms of protecting them. The reason being is if you're going to install something like a parental monitoring or parental control, you want to have that foundation of safety, that foundation of safe spaces of trust. And it goes into my safe method of protecting kids online: safe spaces, accountability, fun, and empathy. And when you don't have that, when your child does not feel that, then it's much more difficult for you to get concepts across to them. It's much more difficult for them to accept things like parental monitoring or parental controls. Now, some kids don't care. They're just like, whatever. Like, do I like it? No, but I don't really care. Every child is different. If I had parental controls, that would have been like World War III in my head. Like, what do you mean? I was a very private person as a kid, and until this day, like super, super private. And the one thing that allowed me to go and talk to my mom, because I was talking to somebody online and I had planned to meet them, and I was basically like packing my bags and I was about to go meet them. And then something in me was like, well, like, maybe you should just tell your mom where you're going, because if something were to happen, she at least knows where you're going. This was crazy for me to even say anything to her, because I for years, I think by that point I had been online for like, I don't even know. I think it was like 4 or 5 years or something of never talking to my mom and deleting apps. And when she wanted my phone to look, like check in real quick or something, she rarely did. But when she did, like, I would just delete the apps, or I would hide the apps, or I just figure out ways to go around it. But I never talked to her about something. So this is the first time. And I just had a feeling in my heart. And I feel like it was a divine like intervention type moment, because no one else would be intervening. And I just decided to tell her, like, hey mom, like, I'm just gonna go meet this person I met online. Like, we have fun and I think he's kind of cool. And so I'm gonna go meet him. And she's like, I mean, at this point, that's a whole long story that I could go into. But essentially, her reaction was very cool, very calm, very collected, very like, okay, how did you meet? What did you think? What do you talk about? Like, why did you decide to meet? Where is he? But one thing she did not do, and I don't know if she didn't do it on purpose, I have to ask her to be honest, but she never asked to see our text messages. She never asked to see what we talked about. She never asked, I think she maybe asked to see, like, do I have a picture of him or something? But other than that, she did not ask. That helped me a lot, because it helped me feel like, oh, she's not like being nosy, and she's not like checking in to be like, oh, who are you talking to? Let me block him. Let me talk to him. So it made me feel safe. And she approached the conversation in what I now call like an experienced friend. And when you're working with teens, you have to be like their guide, their mentor, the experienced friend. If you're like the dictator, if you're the all controller, even though it feels like, yeah, I mean, that's my role, like I need to make sure my child is safe, it like shuts down teens like completely, just a complete wall, block, shut down, shut out. They don't want to hear it, and it causes a lot of friction. And so the way that she approached it kind of opened up my eyes to a different way of approaching something. And that stayed with me for the rest of my life. I didn't know that, oh, that's a great way to approach it, until I started working with parents and teens and corporate. And then I looked back at my experiences and I was like, wait a minute. The only reason why I was able to open up to my mom, feel safe with her, and even if she told me to do something, I would do it, because she proved to me that she loves me and that she is not going to do something that impacts me in a way that I feel like my safety was violated. And so because she was so calm, so cool, so collected, she did not yell. I didn't feel like she was judging me. I could tell she was very deeply sad, and she was confused, and she was distraught, and she was like, I knew she was going through a lot of emotions, but she was not showing that in a way that came out of yelling and screaming and give me your phone and let me delete this app type thing. And I always tell parents, like, if you have that reaction, you have that reaction. You can't take it back. What you can do is repair that and apologize and say, hey, this happened. I don't know how you feel. Can you let me know? I'm so sorry that I made you feel this way. I just realized that you may have thought of it in this way, and it makes sense because I did X, Y, and Z. Like, I'm really sorry about that. Whatever it is, repairing that situation helps you move forward. And honestly, is even better than even if sometimes it's even better than even if you didn't make a mistake in the beginning, because that repair kind of shows your child, even if they're not in a space to accept it fully, it shows your child that, wait a minute, they actually care about me. And so long as, especially if you're following through with it and you're like, hey, no, seriously, like, I am really sorry that this happened. I was just really upset. And you can go back into what you're feeling, because your feelings about it was very, very valid. I mean, the fact that my mom reacted in such a calm way was honestly a miracle. And she said the reason why she did that was she was basically at the end. Like, she was like, I don't know what to do. I'm giving up, like giving up and letting go and letting God type thing. That was the moment she was in her life. And so that's why she had that reaction, because she was like, I'm going to lose my daughter. If I inquire too much, if I ask her too many questions that are like invasive, like she asked me a question. She asked me a lot of questions. We had a big discussion. We were crying. We were like, oh my God, it was a whole emotional thing. But it wasn't like inquiring minds need to know, or this is like, I need to know all of this information. I need to talk to this person. It was more like she was my friend who was worried about me. And in that moment, I realized, like, wait a minute, my mom really cares about me. You know, as a teen, as a kid, if you have a parent that actually does care about you, not everyone does. To be honest, let's be real. But if you have a parent that at the very least is doing their job as a parent, they really love you, you know that. But like when you don't see it, when you don't feel it in that way, it's easy for you to get distracted by people that you meet, or people that are like telling you things that you want to hear, and you're thinking, oh, that's my safe space. And she, in that moment, it was actually really smart of her to do. She was like, I knew that if I pushed you, that if I inquired, that if I said, oh, there's now parental controls, or now you have to delete your game, or now there's no internet and you can't be on there anymore, you only can read books. She was like, I knew that you would immediately feel safer with people online than you already did with me. She was like, first of all, you already did, because you were talking to the guy and you were going to go meet him and whatever. So clearly you felt safer with him than you did with me, because you didn't even tell me about it. She was like, because typically if you made a new friend or whatever, you tell someone that you love about it. Like, hey, I met this person and we're having a lot of fun and we're going to go meet up. She was like, but the fact that you felt like you needed to hide it means that you didn't feel safe with me. So she said, I didn't want to further push you into his corner by getting mad at you, by yelling at you, by screaming at you, because I knew that especially as a teen, you can't really control them. No matter what you do, you really can't control them. And so they're ultimately going to do whatever they want to do. And so at that moment, she was like, I basically already lost my daughter. And if I don't want to lose her more. And so if I were to have a reaction like that, it's going to push her into his corner, and she's going to become more sneaky, and she's going to go around my back, and she's going to do more things that are not safe for her. So in this moment, even though every single cell in my body wants to scream, wants to yell, wants to shout, wants to delete, wants to unplug, wants to do whatever, in this moment, the only thing that I can do right now is to be her experienced friend, be her guide, be her mentor in that moment, and just ask her questions, just genuinely curious. Oh, what's his name? Oh, how did you meet? How do you feel around him? What do you talk about? What made you feel like you wanted to tell me? Thank you so much for letting me know. So where do you plan to meet? How do you feel about that? Do you feel safe doing that? And then when she was asking me these questions, I was like, these are good questions. I'm like, yeah, you know what? I don't know if I feel so safe going to meet this random person that I've never met before. Like, you know what? You actually do have a point. And then I was thinking, yeah, there were moments where he said something or did something that made me feel like, I don't really know. But I was thinking, whatever, that just happens with people that you talk to. And so those moments, that opened me up. That made me feel like, oh, she's not judging me. And she explains like, yeah, a lot of people connect with people all the time. It's totally normal. I just want to make sure that you are safe. And if you feel comfortable with this person, like the whole 9 yards, we were able to have such a beautiful and amazing discussion that opened me up to talking to her. And then I realized, you know what? I'll go over to my friend's house, but I'm not going to go meet the guy. And I decided that I wasn't going to go because it just didn't feel right anymore. Now, did that mean that I stopped talking to strangers on online games? No. But that did mean that every time I talked to somebody, I felt safe enough to tell my mother, because I knew that she was not going to react. She was going to remain cool, calm, and collected. No matter how challenging it was, she was going to be there. And if she ever had a moment, she would come back and she would apologize, and we could have a really great discussion about it. That allowed me to be safer online because she knew everything that was happening. It wasn't like a secret program that was installed or something that I was resisting. It generally was, this works for me. But not every child is like that. Like, I was at a different case. Some teens that I work with, or even adults who are looking back and reflecting on their past relationships, not past relationships, but past relationships and the relationship with their parents, they were like, yeah, that worked for me. And then other people were like, no, that wouldn't have worked for me. So everyone is different. Every situation is different. Who your child is talking to is different. It could be a criminal. It could be someone who's predatory. The person I was talking to was predatory, but that relationship with my mom, that safe space with my mom. Now looking back at it as an adult, like, that was predatory. Yeah, that was predatory. But as a kid, you're just like, oh, he's fun. He's cool. Like, this is nice, So you're in a completely different mindset. And it's not easy for you to listen to somebody like that. Why am I talking about this when I'm saying parental controls are not the answer? The point is that your relationship with your child is the answer. So whether your relationship with your child is super close and you love each other so much and you love spending time together all the time, or It's just a relationship where you know you have each other's back. You're not that close, but you know, push comes to shove, on your side, I'm in your corner. Because your child needs to feel like it's me and my parents against the world, like both of you together against the world. It shouldn't be parent versus child. Will you have moments of like going back and forth? You might be bickering, you might disagree. Absolutely, that's just normal. That's a relationship. That's life. Right? But you don't want the standard of the relationship to be both of you against each other, butting heads all the time. Like finding ways where both of you can be a united front and you're fighting against the world is way better, because that means the mindset of your child is that you are their safe space, that you are the place that they feel the most at home. You never ever want your child to feel more safe, more connected, more loved, more appreciated, more respected in a random place online, a random place outside of the house, and not inside of the house. No matter what goes on, they should feel safe. And if they feel like my privacy will be violated, they're not going to listen to me, they're not going to respect me, they're not going to whatever, it doesn't matter what parental controls, what monitoring you have, all that does is what people say, like, create more sneaky kids. But a parental monitoring or parental control that's installed after a relationship is built or while a relationship is being built over and over and over, where you're showing over and over that you're on their side, you're in their corner, you're going to listen to them, you appreciate them no matter what they say, you are there for them, you're not judging them, you're not going to be mad, you're not going to be angry, you're not going to take away their devices unless something is major thing that needs to happen. You're not going to, your immediate choice is not take away the devices, turn off the internet, delete the app, report the person, listen to their voice messages, read their text messages. That's not your immediate reaction. That's like an extreme case. If you need to do it, you need to do it. You need to do whatever you need to do to save your child and protect your child. But that's just not your immediate answer to things. And when that happens, when you're able to have that foundation, it makes any parental control, any monitoring, anything that you install that you have to for your child's safety, if you believe like, hey, this child, absolutely, we're going to need some parental controls or parental monitoring. Which parental controls or parental monitoring are a little bit different. I probably should have named this live video parental monitoring is not the answer. But parental controls, I believe, is like things that you do to control, to set up the environment so that it's safe for your kids. So basically you turn off the chat feature, you have screen time. Those are like examples of parental controls. Like there's only certain content they can see. That's parental controls. Parental monitoring is when you're monitoring, you're seeing what they're doing, you're looking at their text messages, you get an alert to what's happening in their text messages. There's a software reading your child's text message. That's the whole parental monitoring aspect of it. So they're a little bit different, but sometimes they like coincide together. So I probably should have named it parental monitoring, but the thing that came up in my head was like parental controls. Essentially is that when you're installing something like that, that cannot be the foundation. The moment you make tech the foundation, the moment you're installing it because you believe like I should install it, I should know, I should monitor my child's activities, when you don't have that relationship with your child feel safe with you, when you go to talk to your child about what you saw on the phone, so now you have parental monitoring, you haven't really had safe space discussions with your kids, you don't feel safe with having these discussions with your kids, and they don't feel safe having this discussion with you. When you see something that happens on their phone, the person that they're talking to, when you're going to talk to your kids, it's not going to land the way that you want it to land. Even if your child doesn't talk to this person ever again, the problem is still present. It's not their immediate thought, especially if you installed parental monitoring and they don't know about it. If they don't know about it, that violation of trust that's going to need to be built, because now they're like, wait a minute, you were monitoring me and you didn't tell me? Like, what else are you doing that you're not telling me? It's a violation of privacy. And so now they're looking at you like, I don't feel safe with my parent. Like they're not thinking my parent installed this to make sure that I am safe. They're not thinking my parent is like scared about the online world and saw some news stories or something happen, or they experienced something as kids. They know how crazy things can get, and they're just trying to protect me, and they love me even though it doesn't feel good right now. They love me and they're just trying to protect me. They're doing the best that they can. This world's absolutely bonkers. They're not thinking that. They're thinking, oh my God, my parent violated my trust. Oh my God, how can I trust my parent again? Because they did something sneakily behind my back. They were reading my text messages, and what else have they seen? What else are they hiding from me? I don't trust them anymore. So no matter what they say, they're just buying their time until they're 18 or 17 and they're able to get out of Dodge, right? Even if it's not get out of Dodge like in terms of they're going to run away, but like, oh, we can go to college and be away from my family. Like I can finally be in a place where I don't have to be under them because they're really controlling, and it messes up your relationship with yourself. And then also it's going to mess up their relationship with other people as well, because they're like, the people that I'm supposed to be trusting, I can't trust them. Now you can rectify that. You can go back. It's not like the end of the world if you did that. It's now just time to rebuild the relationship and go back and say, hey, this is how I'm approaching things this time. I'm sorry that I approached it this way the other time, and hopefully we can build our relationship back up. And sometimes, to be honest, like I did like a masterclass on protecting your kids from explicit pictures and content and interactions online. And one of the things we said is, even if you don't have a relationship with your child, we talked about how do you rebuild the relationship? How do you build trust after it's been broken? Those things are like so normal in everybody's life. You're not alone if you believe that your child is like looking at you like, I don't trust you. I don't know who this person is. Like, you can recover from that. It's not the end of the day, right? The honestly, the parents that are able to go back and apologize and recover from that, you're like 10 steps ahead a lot of different people. 10 steps ahead of these people, okay? The reason being is because even if your child doesn't feel it in that moment, they're going to look back and they're going to be like, damn, like I had a parent that was really trying. And they were really, really invested and dedicated into making sure that we had a relationship and that I felt safe with them. And you never want your child to feel like you are against them. Now, they're going to feel it because especially as they're teens, like most times, 8 times out of 10, they're going to have moments where they're like combating you mentally, emotionally, or like verbally combating you. That's normal. I'm saying the standard of the relationship isn't just combative. And if it is, then it is. There are other ways to rectify it. You can go, there's counseling that you can do. I highly recommend, I firmly believe that therapy and healing that parents do for themselves, number one, actually protects your kids online more than you can ever imagine. The reason being is because essentially therapy, healing your childhood trauma, your emotional wounds, that actually gives you the battleground, so to speak, the internal battleground that you need in order to create a safe space within yourself, to give yourself grace, to give yourself kindness, to give yourself love, and to reparent yourself as an adult. You doing that in your own internal environment and regulating your emotions and knowing how to deal with difficult emotions and difficult things that happen in your past, when you're going to talk to your kid, it's a completely different ball game than when you're talking to them and you're not emotionally regulated. Now, I am not a psychologist, I am not a psychiatrist, I am not a social worker, and so I highly suggest reaching out to people that are and having those conversations with them. Your conversation and your dedication to your healing journey is phenomenal. I know that therapy is like not for everybody in terms of you may not be able to find a person that you're compatible with. The insurance problems, maybe it's like it's just not affordable. You can't find somebody in your area. Whatever it is, you can do like a self-healing journey. So I recommend looking at someone like Dr. Nicole LaPera, the holistic psychologist. Is on Instagram, YouTube, and then you can just Google her and look at her stuff. Dedicating some time and effort to your own healing journey will give yourself the understanding in the safe space so that you know how to build that safe space with your child, because you went through your own internal battleground. So when it comes to protecting them online, you have the tools to emotionally regulate, to learn how to deal with difficult emotions, to whatever it is that you need to do when it comes to your healing journey. You've gone through it or you're actively going through it. And so it's easier, not that it's easier than it would be. It's not easy at all, like at all. But it's easier than it would be had you not done that work or had you not been actively doing that work. And the holistic psychologist, Dr. Nicole LaPera, has a lot of like free resources and different like price point resources for you to figure out and working through your emotions and being there for yourself, number one, first. Because if you're able to take care of yourself, like in the airplane when you're putting on your own mask, then you can go and turn around and put the mask on your child. And so when you're using parental controls, when you're using parental monitoring as the answer to protecting your kids online without any foundation of building a relationship, building trust, building a safe space, then it could crumble and it could create kids that are sneaky, that don't feel safe with you, that feel safer with a stranger. The point is, the reason why predators can be so successful in their efforts is because there's so many different reasons. There's many different reasons. But one of the reasons is because kids feel safe with them, and they're made to feel safe with them as opposed to feeling safe with their parents, right? That's one of the reasons. Now, that's not all. There's many different, they're very nuanced issues. Most of the predators are going to come from the people that you know, your family members, your friends, people in the community, people in school. Most likely it won't be some random person, but when it is a random person, it will be someone who's online, on a video game, on social media, because that's there all the time. And so it is important to remember that it is a holistic view. If you want to protect your kids, it's bigger than just tech. You can't, what's going on in social media is very psychology focused. Like the reason why kids are obsessed with Instagram, the reason why you're obsessed with Facebook, the reason why they can't get off the game, the reason why you're stuck on your 5th reality show or episode of the day and you weren't able to do other things that you wanted to do. Like if you did the things you wanted to do and you're just chilling, and I call it like vegetating and chilling, like the Michael Jackson song, that's different. But if you're doing it in a way that's self-destructive, that's all psychology. That's not about tech. It's about, they actually took psychologists, did research studies, did what they call like focus groups, and they figured out what will allow people to be more addicted to social media, what will keep people watching longer, what's going to make people more addicted to buying hitting the buy button. This is all psychological research. So you can't fight the things that we're fighting with technology, right? Because we're not fighting technology. We're fighting things like psychological things, emotional things, intellectual things, spiritual things. We're not fighting like technology. And so if you really want to get to the foundation of protecting your kids online, you have to use tech as a tool, and the foundation of it as a foundation of safe spaces. This is the safe method of protecting kids online that I've developed: safe spaces, accountability, fun, and empathy. If you're dealing with that background in terms of protecting your kids online, you're way better off than just installing a parental control and checking in with your child and telling your child, I love you. Even though those are great and congratulations for doing it, we all have to do something in order to protect kids online, but it is not the foundation. And so remember, there are other ways you can protect your kids online. This is why I say you do not have to be tech savvy. You don't have to know everything about Roblox, about Minecraft, about TikTok, about whatever in order to protect your child online. What you need to know the most about is 1, yourself, 2, your child. Other than that, everything else is icing on the cake. The more you know about yourself, the more you know about how you react, the more you know how to create safe spaces, the more you can talk to your kid, the more you can have open, non-judgmental discussions about everything and all the things under the sun, especially if they're on social media, because they will see everything. No matter what you do, they will see things. Even if the phone that you give your child, this is a big discussion, so I can keep talking about this. But anyways, even if you give your child a phone that's completely locked down and completely amazing, this is the holiday season. They're going to their grandparents for Thanksgiving. They're at your house for Christmas, and another family joined in, and the other child doesn't have parental controls. They're at school and they're at somebody else's device. Someone in the school bus shows them a picture, shows them a video. Like, there are things that you cannot control, that are out of your control. And the only way that you can have any semblance of controlling it, whatever control means, is if you're able to control yourself, control your emotions as much as possible, and build a safe space with your child, so that no matter what happens, you can be prepared, because you're not fighting a flawed tech system with another flawed tech system. You are fighting the most powerful thing that's in tech, which is psychology, which is connection, which is human behavior, and you're using the same thing in your household, and you're building that up so that you can equip your kids to be able to deal with their own emotions and to understand what does true safety mean. Not some random person online that makes you feel nice, or someone who has same interests of you. They know what true safety feels like. And they know that if anything were to happen, even if I'm pissed off with my parent right now, even if we're disagreeing about something, I can go to them and we can have a chat and everything will be okay in the end. They're not catastrophizing, I think that's the term, about everything that's happening. And so when I talk about parental controls not being the answer, I just mean that if you have a problem, it's typically not the parental controls is the answer. Typically the answer is much deeper, and then the parental controls is like, oh, and then a cherry on top is installing this parental control app. Like when I talk about Roblox safety, if your kid is really young, you want to turn off the chat. There are definitely places for parental controls, and it must be needed, especially when your kids are really young, like especially when they're young, they're immature. I mean, any child is going to be young and immature, but you know what I mean in terms of they're experiencing the world. They're not like about to head off to college, and they have shown themselves to be responsible, mature human beings. They're like in that stage where you're like, oh, okay, you know, we're working through this. Like there is a space for it. And so if you're deciding to add parental controls, absolutely do what's best for you, and make sure that the foundation of protecting your kids online is deeper than any piece of tech. I talk about this in my Protect Kids Online membership. If you go to my bio, like inside of my profile, you'll see a link. I think right now it's like a Sleek in Bio link. And then you can join the membership, and if you want to like talk to me and have conversations about this and find an internet safety plan for your family. The standard membership is $27 a month. If you need some financial flexibility, there's a $9 a month option, and it is like it's an honor system. Like if you feel, you know that you need $9 a month instead of 27, you'd go there. If you can do $27 a month, you do that. And it's the same exact membership. You get the same thing as anybody else. I'm so happy to have you here. Thank you for being here. My entire channel is helping you protect your kids online. So go check out my videos on protecting your kids on Roblox, on Minecraft, the best parental control apps, protecting your kids on Discord, Snapchat, the whole 9 yards. If this is your first time catching me live, I'm Cyber Frida. I'm an award-winning Forbes 30 under 30 internet safety expert, and my main mission is to help you protect your kids online while building a strong parent-child relationship. If you have any questions for me, message me. If you want to look into like joining the membership, seeing the master classes I have, I think last month I had a masterclass on protecting your kids from explicit interactions online, explicit online games, explicit chats, explicit content, how to talk to them about explicit things and protecting them from that. The masterclass I just did today actually was about smart sharing online, the pictures, the videos, the content you never want to post of your kids online. And then the masterclass that I have coming up is going to be how to protect your child's device, when to give your child a smart device, and how to protect that smart device once you do. And so obviously we'll be talking about parental controls and parental monitoring, and a big focus of that will also be the things that happen in the background in your child's mind, or in your child's DMs, or your child's phone, or activities that you don't know about that you should know about to protect your kids. I appreciate you so much. Let me know if you have any questions, drop them down below. If you want links to anything that I've done, masterclasses, the membership, other videos that I've done, let me know, put it in here, or otherwise head to my profile. Have an amazing day, and till next time.